Well, it's been a couple of years since I have offered this particular prayer for all of us, but today's gospel has given me the opportunity. It speaks of healing and the healing power of God. And I know as well that many more of you are now eligible to receive this blessing than were eligible the last time, having more recently joined the ranks of those of us with replacement body parts. We know that some parts are removed and can't be replaced, and so we thank them for the work that they perform for us. And some are replaced but not given any kind of baptism before they are asked to do the job of the original part. So, in honor of those parts of us that have gone before, and those parts of us that are now substituting for whatever, I offer this blessing on replacement parts. The Lord bless us and keep us, and bless all of our replacement parts. And bless those parts that have gone before but served us well. The Lord make his face to shine upon us. The Lord lift up his countenance upon us and our new parts, that they may serve us as well as the used ones did. And give us peace and absence of pain now and forevermore. Amen. Feel better? I myself am no stranger to missing, replaced, or pieced together body parts. Not to mention that most of those events have temporarily crippled me. I'm sure that I'm not the only one here who can relate to the long-suffering woman in today's gospel who finds healing at last. As the story unfolds, Jesus is teaching in the synagogue on the Sabbath, and there in the crowd is a woman who's been bent over for 18 long years. She doesn't ask for healing. She doesn't interrupt Jesus. She doesn't even speak. But Jesus sees her. He sees her pain, her bent posture, her story, and he calls her forward. That's the first miracle in this story, not the healing itself, but the seeing. To be truly seen by God, by others, by ourselves, that's where restoration begins. And here's the thing. She responds. She comes forward. She allows herself to be seen, and that is no small thing, because healing begins not just with God's invitation, but with our willingness to say yes. I've learned this in my own body. When I broke both ankles, when my knee gave out, when my finger joint had to be replaced, I had to want to heal. I had to say yes to surgery, yes to rehab, yes to the long, slow process of restoration to health. And sometimes the hardest part wasn't the pain or the frustration at being mobility challenged. It was admitting that I needed help, that I couldn't fix it alone, that I had to trust others, that I had to trust God. Healing can only begin when we say, I am ready. I want to be whole. So in this story, Jesus lays hands on her, and immediately she stands up straight. She is no longer bent, no longer hidden, no longer defined by her pain and her posture. And what does she do? She praises God. Her healing becomes her testimony. Her restoration to wholeness becomes worship. But again, she had to come forward. She had to allow herself to be touched, to be changed, to be made new. Healing is not passive. It's an act of courage. And then in this story, the stickler for the rules, the leader of the synagogue, responds. He's absolutely indignant. There are 6 days to heal, he says. Come back then. As if this poor woman needed to wait one more day for healing to begin. But Jesus rebukes him. You untie your ox on the Sabbath, he said. Shouldn't this woman, this daughter of Abraham, be loosed from her bondage? Jesus reframes the Sabbath day not as a day of restriction, but as an opportunity for restoration, which just might be why we come to church, to be restored. This story reminds us that healing is not just physical. It's spiritual, emotional, communal. The woman is restored in body, yes, but also in dignity, in voice, in belonging. She is no longer bent, no longer silenced, no longer alone, all because she accepted the invitation to be healed. And that is true for us too. Whether it's physical recovery, emotional restoration, or spiritual renewal, we have to want it. We have to open the door. Healing begins with desire, with a readiness to heal, with a turning of our hearts towards health and wholeness. And we need to think about the wounds we carry that no one sees. Some are stitched into our very bodies, scars from surgeries, accidents, or illness. Others are stitched deep into our soul. Grief, betrayal, silence, shame. And sometimes healing from those feels impossible. We have tried everything. We've prayed, we've pleaded, we've persisted. And still the bleeding continues. Some of us carry wounds so long they start to feel like home, like we were born that way. We hold on to old betrayals, rehearse past failures, replay words that wounded us, not because we want to hurt, but because we're afraid of who will be without them. They have become an integral part of us. But real healing asks us to loosen our grip on those scars, to stop feeding the bitterness, to stop defining ourselves by what broke us, to stop bowing down to the story that keeps us bent. Jesus doesn't just heal the woman's body, he frees her from the identity of being broken. And he can do that for us too. But we have to want it. We have to say, I am ready to stop carrying this. I'm ready to be free. That's not denial of our condition, that's reconciliation. Healing takes courage. It asks us to reach out, sometimes through our pain, sometimes through our fear. It asks us to trust that God is not only near, but cares. That Christ does not recoil from our wounds, but receives them into himself. And healing is not always instant. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it takes the community. Sometimes it's messy. But it is always sacred. So, I ask you today to think about these questions right now. Where are you bleeding? What wounds haven't healed? Where have you grown tired of asking for help? Where do you need to reach out again? Like the crippled woman in today's gospel, you don't have to be whole to be held. You don't have to be strong to be seen. You only need to be willing. And yet we know that for some, healing doesn't come in the way we hoped. The body doesn't recover. The pain doesn't lift, or the diagnosis doesn't change. But even then, even in death, God is still healing. Because death is not the end of our story. For those who belong to Christ, death is the final loosening of pain, the final straightening of our souls and bodies, the final rising. It is the moment when every burden falls away and we stand fully whole, fully healed in the presence of God. So understand that healing may not always look like recovery. Sometimes it looks like resurrection. If you are bent, by the burdens that you carry today, I invite you to say yes. Yes to healing, yes to help, yes to hope. In the quiet of your own heart, name the burden you've carried too long. And if you're ready, say to God, I'm willing to let this go. I am ready to be healed. And so may the Lord bless us and keep us, and bless our willingness to be made whole. Amen.